So we have this example. It says determine the general solution of 2 sine x equals to 1. And normally whenever you get a question and you have to get your general solution, the first thing you have to do is try as much as possible to make sure your trig ratio doesn't have any value before it. What I mean is we try as much as possible to make sure that this 2 that we have over here is in there. We move it over to the right hand side and we simplify it. So I'm saying that this here would be is this sine x is equals to 1 over 2, or we can write it as sine x is equals to 0,5. Now it doesn't matter if you're working with sine, cos, tan, you make sure that there should be no value at the back of them. Now you're allowed for values in front of them, that's not a problem, and it should always be equals to something like this. So this is good, but this is bad. So let's go back to the question. The next step you're going to take in finding your general solution is to determine if your answer is positive or negative. Now this here says sine x is equals to 0,5. So we can see our answer is positive. Now we need to determine where in our quadrant is sine positive. If you have your quadrant, we understand that sine is positive in the first quadrant and sine is positive in the second quadrant. So for that reason, we're going to get two answers to get our general solution. The first answer will just be x, while the second answer will be written as 180 minus x, because those are the equations of those two quadrants. Let's get to it. Now the next step we now finally do is we get our reference angle. Now how we get our reference angle is by moving the sign over to that side. So we write it like this: x is equals to shift sine 0,5. Now if you put this in your calculator, you should get 30 degrees. This is the first answer, which is, now whenever you're working with sine, you always end your answer by putting k360. This is the answer for sine being in the first quadrant. You could also write next to it, k is an element of integers. Now for your second answer, we will also have x. You write the equation of your second quadrant. Then you try simplifying it. And don't forget to put k is an element of integers. Whenever you're working with general solutions or trig equations, you should always put k is an element of integers at the end of each step that you write. Our two answers are x is equals to 30 plus 360 and x is equals to 150 plus k360.